Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Bo, here on the Film Scene Investigation channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. In today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the 2001 crime drama, Our Christmas. So, this movie was directed by the great Abel Ferrara, a filmmaker who I hold in high regard. And as many of you may know, I've reviewed several of his films on this channel. When it comes to this movie in particular, I saw it a few years ago, and yeah, I've been meaning to review it ever since. It is a Christmas movie, and probably one of the last Abel Ferrara movies that I really enjoyed. Before we get into the review, guys, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It really does mean a lot, and all the support is greatly appreciated. So, Our Christmas from December 2001 was a crime drama that centered on a couple from New York City who sold cocaine for a living. The husband, played by actor Lilo Brancato, and the wife, played by Drea Di Matteo, were very successful drug dealers who were making deals and bringing in a lot of money. They were basically living a double life. You know, on the outside, they were this loving couple with a young child, and yeah, you know, everything seemed to be all perfect, you know, fine and dandy. But of course, behind closed doors, they were just a pair of sneaky drug dealers. What was quite interesting about this whole setup was the fact that this couple, they weren't alone. No, their family knew all about their illegal activities and supported it. You know, it was very much a family business. The story picked up in December of 1993, where the couple were celebrating the seasonal festivities with their young child. We saw them end up having this ride on a horse and carriage in the middle of New York City. And of course, you know, that wasn't cheap, but money was no object to them. We saw the inner workings of their whole operation: bagging, cutting up the powder, you know, distributing. It was quite a system they had in place. And it was, you know, clear from the get-go that the husband was the cool, calm, collected one, whereas the wife, played by Di Matteo, she was a hothead for sure. I guess in some ways it could be argued that the wife was very pragmatic. You know, she always looked ahead, always very cautious, and wanted to quash any issues right there and then. The wife was very much the aggressor, while the husband, you know, was the laid-back, chilled-out guy that he was. So, in a way, it was the perfect counterbalance. Anyways, things escalated quickly when, on Christmas Eve, the husband was ambushed in the street and kidnapped by a group of men. The husband had planned to meet his friend Trey, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, he was abducted. They threw him to the ground. They had a gun, to his face. These guys weren't messing around. And clearly, this was not a random attack. No, this was targeted, for sure. One of the kidnappers, who was played by Ice-T, then confronted the wife and told her what happened to her husband. He even showed her the husband's ID, so obviously the wife knew that it was legit. This guy wanted money. He wanted a cash payment real quick, and if the wife wasn't going to provide it, well, that was the end for the husband. Of course, the wife was completely caught off guard by this. I mean, she was planning to celebrate Christmas with her family, then suddenly she has to deal with her husband's abduction. The kidnapper wasn't specific exactly on how much he actually wanted. He just ended up ushering the wife away and waited for her to return with some cash. You see, this group, these kidnappers, they had targeted this couple. They knew everything about them. More importantly, they knew that this couple had money. They wanted it. The wife was backed in to a corner. She had no other option, really. So she decided to start scrambling for cash, calling up family members, going to meet friends, doing everything she could to try and rescue her husband. It was a real struggle, for sure. There's no doubt about that. But, the wife loved her husband, and there was no way that she was going to give up on him. The final part of the movie saw the wife gather enough money up to pay off the group and see her husband return safe and sound. It was not easy trying to find such large amounts of cash in such a short amount of time, but the wife pulled it off. Once they reunited, of course they were happy to see each other, but obviously they were very cautious about what to do next. I mean, why exactly did this group target them specifically? The couple had no personal beef with anyone, so it wasn't like there was some vendetta or bounty over their heads. It just didn't make sense. But in one of the last scenes in the film, it was revealed that these group of kidnappers who abducted the husband, they weren't street thugs or criminals. They were actually corrupt cops on the take. They had posed as criminals, hiding their identity in order for them to get involved with, the street action. And of course, that was the reason why the couple ended up being targeted, because they were drug dealers, they were very successful drug dealers, and they were a prime target to be exploited by the cops. So with this movie, it was clear to me that the director, Abel Ferrara, tried to humanize the drug dealers within the story and, explore their lives, which certainly was an interesting idea. We saw how the couple's illegal activities intertwined with their family life and how they basically dealt with that on a day-to-day basis. In so many of Ferrara's films, very rarely did we ever get any kind of backstory to these drug dealer characters that featured. I mean, a great example of this would be Zoe Lund, who appeared in 1992's Bad Lieutenant. Zoe appeared in the film very briefly. I think she only had maybe 2 scenes. And yeah, she remained a mystery. We never got to know her character. Whereas in this film, Our Christmas, the couple, we got to know them, their family, their child, and also got to know why they did it in the first place. All of that gave us, the audience, a much deeper insight into who these characters were, and for me, that was very refreshing to see. If you're like me, and you've seen a ton of Abel Ferrara's work over the years, then you would have noticed the heavy use of Catholic iconography. And so, with that said, the fact that Abel Ferrara ended up actually making a Christmas movie, it actually seems quite fitting. Once again, the religious undertones were present in Our Christmas, and as a man of faith, it was great to see that incorporated. Before I discuss the performances, I did want to mention the film's opening sequence, where we saw these groups of children dressed up in Victorian costume handing out presents to one another. Now, all of this turned out to be a swerve, but I generally thought that I was watching the wrong movie for a second. It just seems so out of left field for an Abel Ferrara movie. You had the kids, you had the costumes, you had the presents. It was just the complete contrast to what you'd expect from a director like Abel Ferrara. So yeah, a pretty inventive title sequence. In terms of the performances, I have to say that Drea Di Matteo completely stole the show as a woman who was, panicking, trying her best to rescue her husband from a group of corrupt cops. You really felt the character's desperation as she was scrambling around trying to find as much money as possible to, pay the ransom. And yeah, overall, I was just thoroughly impressed with what I saw from her. There's no doubt that she carried the movie, and without her involvement, I really feel that Our Christmas would have seriously lacked. I mean, the actress is such a dynamic performer with her ferocity and vulnerability. She was able to even make the mundane moments seem tense. Now, I read online that the director, Abel Ferrara, ended up watching an episode of The Sopranos and seeing Drea Di Matteo for the first time. After he saw her, he wanted to work with her immediately. He made a real effort to cast her because he knew that she was a real talent and could deliver a great performance, which she did. Having said all that, I did feel that the script at times was pretty weak, so some of the characters' dialogue I didn't really care for, but overall I thought Di Matteo did a great job with the material she had been given. When it comes to the actor Lillo Brancato, I thought overall he certainly looked the part playing the shady drug dealer husband, and he was okay. His character, of course, had a much more laid-back demeanor compared to his wife, and like I said, it worked in terms of the counterbalance between the two, but overall I can't really say that I was all that impressed. Whereas Di Matteo was the clear standout, Brancato just was kind of there, and it wasn't bad, but it wasn't special either. While the husband remained quite stoic throughout the entire film, I thought the actor Lillo Brancato at times was quite wooden and kind of one-dimensional. I also found that the actor didn't really emote, not very much, and so with that we were kind of left looking at his gormless face. As we all know, storytelling can be presented very well through, the character's facial expressions, but when an actor doesn't do that, it's kind of hard to care about them and, get invested in their story. As for the chemistry between him and Di Matteo, I thought it was quite believable. They seemed like a couple that generally cared for each other. But when it comes to the sexual chemistry, to me it just wasn't there. It seemed more like they were like siblings. They felt like family. They felt like people that cared for one another. But in terms of a relationship, it wasn't that believable. Ice-T, of course, showed up as the kidnapper. And for the most part, his performance was pretty memorable, but somewhat limited as well. It is worth noting that, of course, this man is a rapper and has pretty much promoted himself as being this gangster, throughout his entire career. So for Ice-T to come on set and portray, a criminal thug, it weren't much of a stretch. Now, initially when I watched this film, I really did not like the Ice-T characterization. For me, it felt very forced, and like one minute the guy was demanding money, the next he was asking for the wife's backstory. It was just all over the place, very disjointed, and it actually felt kind of ad-libbed as well. It was only after seeing the reveal at the end that Ice-T and all these kidnappers, this group of men, they were actually corrupt cops. Only then did it make sense, because ultimately this Ice-T character, he was a cop posing as a criminal. No wonder his dialogue felt kind of off and disjointed, because ultimately he was trying his best to convince the wife that he was a dangerous man, not just a cop on the take. So knowing that and then kind of reevaluating the performance, it did make sense. And overall I thought, Ice-T was pretty good. And so, dislikes for Our Christmas from 2001. My biggest dislike for the film would have to be the overall execution of the story, as to me, many times it felt very, very aimless. It was a very character-driven film, and, that wasn't a bad thing. But I did go into the film expecting to see a lot more action, something that you'd expect to see in a crime drama. There were also a number of scenes in the film that just dragged on and didn't really go anywhere. A good example of this would actually be the ending of the film, where we saw the husband at this dinner party with his wife and their friends. One moment, the husband, got up on stage and started singing. And okay, but it didn't go anywhere. Given there was suddenly so much focus on the husband serenading his wife in front of everyone, I kind of half expected to, see maybe a shootout or explosion take place. Something. But we didn't get that. He just continued to sing. And then very slowly, the credits rolled. Okay. And, this happened quite a lot in the film, to the point where it actually made me question whether Ferrara had actually filmed enough footage, because a lot of this just seemed like filler, I need to meet a certain runtime. Let's just drag out these scenes for an extra couple of minutes. If you make a movie and it's less than 90 minutes, yet it features a bunch of scenes that don't really go anywhere and just linger on, then, that to me, it indicates to me that there wasn't much of a story to begin with. Now, I did actually read online that supposedly the actor John Leguizamo was originally cast to play the husband, and at the last minute, he pulled out. I don't know if that is actually true. That's just what I read online, so take it with a pinch of salt. But it would explain some of the more kind of random moments, some of the issues that this film had. All I can say is it was unfocused at times, and that was a letdown. And so, ratings for Our Christmas from 2001. I'm going to be rating this film a solid 5 out of 10. Our Christmas was an intriguing crime drama set in the holiday season, where we saw a bunch of corrupt cops steal some money from some drug dealers. The director, Abel Ferrara, was able to insert a few different aspects within the 90 minutes that kept me interested, but it still felt somewhat fragmented. With all of that said, Our Christmas was one of the last Abel Ferrara movies that I really did enjoy. And with this film, you did get a lot of the kind of gritty vibe that you obviously associate with Ferrara's earlier work. Ferrara is a brilliant filmmaker. I still hold him in high regard. And I'll still check out his future films if he, continues to make them. But it's obvious that he has changed over the years, and his later work, it lacks the intensity that we saw in his earlier films. In the wider context, Our Christmas is one of the more weaker entries in his filmography. As I said, it was kind of aimless and fragmented. But with that said, I still thoroughly enjoyed it a lot more than some of Ferrara's more recent works like Tommaso and Serbia. If you've seen Our Christmas, then please let me know your thoughts and memories in the comment section below. For all those out there who have not seen this one, if you're an Abel Ferrara fan, then absolutely, this is a must-watch, absolutely. And if you're a fan of Andrea Di Matteo, I think you'll also enjoy it too. And yes, it is a Christmas film. It can't be denied. So in terms of Christmas films, or should I say kind of unconventional Christmas films like Die Hard, Batman Returns, Eyes Wide Shut, this movie, Our Christmas, would certainly fall into that category. And well, that is all from me today, guys. I do hope you've enjoyed this review of Our Christmas from December 2001. I'll be back next week with another cult movie review. If you like what I do here, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It does mean a lot. And of course, guys, you take care.